Hey guys, what's up? It's Emily. Today I'm going to be talking about the books I read in April. Wait, is it April? Yeah, it was April. Okay. I managed to read 6 books this month. 6 books. Which is a lot for me because I typically only read like 2 or 3, maybe 4 a month because I'm really slow at reading and plus I'm busy because school's great. I am pretty proud of myself. Also, want to mention today's May 5th, so you know what comes out? You know what comes out? Oh, I don't know if you can see. Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, I'm really excited. So I want to start off with the books that I read for school this month because I read 2 this month for school. The first one I'm going to talk about is Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. I despise this man. He is stupid. I cannot express how frustrated I am with Shakespeare. He lived, what, 600 years ago, right? He was in the 1500s, the 16th century. He lived forever ago. Like, forever ago. I don't understand why we still study his work, and it's been rumored that he was high when he was writing all of his stuff, which is just like, what? And he made up words. He legit made up words. Like manager, he made up that word. If someone today tried to write things and just made up words, rejected. Yet back in the 1500s, oh, it's a masterpiece, blah, 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 blah. And Romeo and Juliet is so stupid. They're like 13. They're 13 and they fall in love within like a week. No, one night. They fall in love in one night. I'm like, that's not even... So they're 13, they fall in love, and then they kill themselves. Great moral of the story, and we study this in school. And I'm so frustrated. I'm done trying to understand Shakespeare because he makes no sense. And it's just, in my opinion, very stupid how we still have to study his work when it's not even relevant to today. At all. Whatsoever. Ugh, okay. I'm done ranting about Romeo and Juliet. I've said my piece. We're gonna move on. The next book I read for school was The Hound of the Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And this is part of the Sherlock Holmes collection. I love Sherlock Holmes. I love the show Sherlock so much. I really want to see the movies with Robert Downey Jr. because he's Iron Man and of course, Marvel. I was already going to read all the books because I have the complete collection of Sherlock Holmes. It's just we had these things called lit circles in my class where you had to like pick a book and then you get together with a group of people and you read it and you do a project. And The Hound of the Baskervilles was there, so I picked that one. And I love mystery books. I haven't read too many that I've liked as like recent years, but as a kid, I grew up reading Nancy Drew. I grew up reading The Hardy Boys, if anybody knows what that is. And I loved them. Like, I blew through them. I read like all the Peg Carrot mystery books. I was obsessed with mysteries, so of course this is like right up my alley, and for some reason it made me feel really nostalgic of like my old reading mystery novels phase when I was a kid. I really loved it. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars because it was a little bit slow, but I mean it's Sherlock, so it made me pretty happy too. Oh, Romeo and Juliet, by the way, I gave like, what, 2 out of 5 stars? Mostly because of Mercutio, who's hilarious. So now I'm gonna get into the books that I actually read for pleasure this month, and the first month I read this year. The first book I read this month was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas, and holy crap, I loved this book. This is a sequel to A Court of Thorns and Roses. I am currently reading A Court of Wings and Ruin. Oh my god. I don't like this. This is how big Akamath is. This is how big ACOWAR is. But they're about like the same size. This might be even a little bit bigger. Bible thin pages, guys. Yay. And can we just talk about how gorgeous these covers are? I love these covers. If you want to know what Akamath, ACOTAR, and ACOWAR are about, I said that in the wrong order. I actually have a complete book talk on ACOTAR and Akamath. Wow, I haven't been able to do this in a while. I'll leave a link down below if you want to know more. But if you haven't heard of these, or if you haven't read these yet, you should. They are amazing books, and I'm pretty sure the book world is freaking out about ACOWAR right now. Came out on Tuesday. I'm only 180 pages into it, but oh well. The next book I read right after Akamath was The Call by, oh my gosh, I'm gonna butcher this name so much. I apologize already. Peter O'Gillen? I don't know. It's an Irish name. Forgive me. I also really enjoyed this book. This is actually kind of a horror book, so I actually think I'd like it better if I read it around Halloween time, but I had recently bought this and I was looking for something short and quick to get me through the hangover that ACOMAF gave me, and it helped. This was also when I was also reading this when I saw the Panic at the Disco concert, which also put me in a big slump. So April, I had this like big slump in the beginning, but then I powered through it, obviously. So The Call is about this world. It's our world, but like not how it is today. What's happening in Ireland is that these race of fairies called the Sidhe, I don't know what they're called. They're these creepy fairies. They kind of live in a different realm, I guess, but they have surrounded Ireland, and they take every single teenager at a certain point in time. It could be when they're 15, when they're 17, when you're 13, who knows. And you go through something called The Call, where they chase you and they hunt you and they try to kill you, and you just show up in their world naked, alone, with nothing. Like, even if you wore glasses or contacts, I don't even think you'd come with those, so yeah, you're screwed. And they basically try to kill you, and it's 3 minutes our time, but it's a whole 24 hours in their world. And these kids who live in Ireland, they have to go through this. Every single kid has to go through this. It is terrifying. Like, it's really creepy and it's terrifying, but it's so good. Oh my gosh, I loved it so much. It is pretty graphic. Some of the descriptions are pretty, so if you're kind of squeamish, I wouldn't really suggest this, but if it sounds interesting to you at all, it is really good. And I think there's a next book coming out. I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure. Like, it could stand alone, but I feel like there's another book coming out. I really highly suggest this book if you're into anything creepy. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars or a 5 out of 5 stars. I think it was a 4 out of 5 stars. I can't remember. The next book I read in April was The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. This book. Oh my goodness. So this book is about this girl named Star who is African American, and she kind of grows up in the ghettos basically, and she goes to this fancy white prep school. So she kind of lives this double life of, like, there's a Star that the people at her school know, and there's a Star that her family and her friends know back where she lives. She was at a party one night, and she was driving home, or her friend was driving her home, and a cop pulls them over, and the night resulted with the cop shooting her friend, who was completely unarmed, and he died. And Star was the only one who witnessed it, so she knows what happens, and she has to struggle to see if she's going to tell her story or if she's going to keep quiet, because either way, her world is going to turn upside down. This book was phenomenal. I absolutely love this book. It made me cry, it made me laugh, I loved it. I think it's so important for people to read books like these, especially in 2017, and it's part of the Black Lives Matter movement, and I don't know. I don't really know what else to say. The writing was beautiful. At first, I thought I didn't like it because it seemed a little choppy to me, but then as I was reading it, I decided that it worked perfectly for the story and the way that the story needed to be told, and I loved it. There's nothing else for me to say. I suggest this book to everybody. Even if you didn't read, even if you don't read, people need to read this. It's just that. It's fact. The next book I read in April was Winter Song by S.J. Jones. This book, oh goodness, how do I explain this? Winter Song follows the story of this girl named Liesl, and Liesl is the oldest in her family, and she grew up hearing her grandmother's stories about the Goblin King. And the Goblin King is basically the person who controls time and the seasons and everything. So she grew up hearing those stories, but then as she had to, like, actually grow up and be responsible, she kind of forgot them. And then all of a sudden one day the Goblin King ends up taking her sister, and she has to travel to his realm and get her back. There is this element of music to the story, and to me, I'm in a choir, I read music, I grew up singing, I grew up playing piano, I love music, and I loved that element because I could relate to it, kind of like I knew what she was talking about, and I thought it was really interesting because everything, all the comparisons were like made to music, and it was really interesting. This book was darker than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like so mystical and magical, and it is, but there's so much more, like there's so much darker tones to it than I was expecting, and at first I was super excited to read this, and then through the middle I was kind of like, oh, I'm not enjoying this as much as I thought it would. And then all of a sudden I was reading it and I got like, I don't know, I realized I was loving the characters. I loved the Goblin King, I loved Liesel, I loved the world, and I was getting upset because I was like towards the end, and I actually cried at the end. And I loved it. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Everybody on Bookstagram actually is basically freaking out over this book. I highly suggest it if you're a fantasy reader, if you love music. It's kind of cool to read. Oh, that's it. That's it actually. I only have 2 weeks left in school. So next week it's performance events and preparing for finals, and the week after that is finals. So I probably won't have a ton of time to read, but then I'm out of school for the year and I get to read. Yeah, that's all I have for today. So thank you guys so much for watching. I have a Bookstagram actually where lately I've been putting up pictures of books that I'm actually very proud of. I actually had to do this whole project for my photojournalism class where I had to take pictures of books. It was an independent project, it wasn't actually my assignment, but I decided to do mine on book photography. So I'm really excited about those photos, and if you're interested at all, I'll leave a link down to my Instagram below. It's also linked on my homepage. Again, I'll leave a link to my ACOTAR/ACOMAF book talk if you want to know more about those books. And it is like, I have a spoiler-free part and then I go into spoilers, so you don't have to worry about being spoiled if you're ever going to read them. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you when I make a new video. Bye!